How do you turn a bankrupt company into the world's largest and most iconic wine brand? Welcome to Business Without Barriers, the show helping you turn barriers into success breakthroughs and thrive in a volatile world, and the success revolution bringing humanity back to business. Get set for success with access to provocative interviews with progressive entrepreneurs every week, and be sure to subscribe at bwbtv.net. I'm your host, Carmen Wild, and my guest today is Michael Houlihan. Michael is the co-founder of the world's largest and most iconic wine brand, Barefoot Wine, and is a highly sought-after international keynote speaker, consultant, and corporate trainer, and the New York Times Bestselling co-author of The Barefoot Spirit, How Hardship, Hustle, and Heart Built America's #1 wine brand, as well as Entrepreneurial Culture, 23 Ways to Engage and Empower Your People. They started in the laundry room of a rented farmhouse with virtually no money or wine industry experience and transformed it into a multiple award-winning company, fitting of the boardroom of the world's largest wine company, E&J Gallo, who ultimately acquired their brand and engaged them as brand consultants. The valuable lessons learned by Michael and co-founder Bonnie Harvey are now empowering businesses around the world. Michael is a regular contributor to business journals in 43 cities, major business publications, and a regular guest on radio, TV, and podcasts. His new audiobook brings theater to business, and his latest business venture, Business Audio Theater, helps company founders tell their stories in theatrical style. Michael lives in the Californian wine country with Bonnie, and donning his very cool sunglasses today. Welcome to the show, Michael. It's such a treat to have you on the show.
Yes, well, thank you, and welcome to the wine country here in California. It's a beautiful day outside.
Fantastic, and it's a gorgeous evening here in Mauritius, on the opposite side of you.
You're down there.
And
I'm up there.
Absolutely. So, Michael, you have such a super fun, bubbly spirit. What do you believe engendered that spirit in you?
Oh, wow. You get to a point in your life where you really can't take yourself too seriously anymore. If you do, you're just going to break down and start crying. So you gotta start laughing at some of your mistakes and misconceptions before others do. As my dad used to say, be the first person to laugh at yourself.
What fantastic advice. And you carried it through.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been fun. I think that it's important as a leader to engender a sense of fun and not taking yourself too seriously. You know, with all the people that look up to you for guidance, and even people that you subcontract with, they have to know you're a real person. And sometimes that gets lost. We get down to business to the point where we really stifle creativity. I think when people think that you're a fun guy that they can joke with and have a good time with, they're more likely to come up with brilliant ideas that are going to help you. That's for sure.
Totally agree with you. So, what was Michael like as a child?
Oh my. Well, I took everything apart. I remember one time when I was a kid, the way that you would open cans was they had this little key that was welded to the top of the can. And then on the side of the can, they had a little tab, and you would put the tab in the key and wind it all the way around the can like a coffee, and it would open up, right? Well, I would take those keys and I would suck on those keys. And one day I ran around the house and I saw these two keyholes on the wall, right? So I stuck these keys in there and I got knocked across the room like I got kicked by some kind of a mule. And my mother said I flew about 10 feet through the air. But that was how I discovered electricity. Yeah, so much for Ben Franklin, right?
Sounds like you had the fun spirit then already.
Well, yeah, it was, I was blessed. You know, I had a sister a year younger than me who could definitely beat me up. She had three brothers and I was one of them. So she had to hold her own. And, you know, she was a fun gal. I love her today. You know, I just talked to her yesterday. She lives in Colorado. You know, the thing is, we really enjoy joking and carrying on with each other and making fun out of really mundane situations.
Fantastic. What a lovely way to have fun and enjoy it, and then bring it right into adulthood with you, which is it goes around too little. So maybe it was from childhood, but later, Michael, who or what had the greatest influence on the Michael the world has come to know now?
Oh, you know, I was blessed with a wonderful mentor. When I graduated from the university down in Southern California, I got a job with a city in Southern California, and the city manager brought me in at first as, you know, an intern, and then made me an assistant. And he believed that I could do anything. He didn't tell me I couldn't do stuff. So he actually had me putting together the agendas for the city council meetings. I was like 22 years old. And, you know, it was great to have somebody with that much respectability from my standpoint actually believe in me. And I think that that's what really forged me, is when I saw this person that I respect and looked up to. He was the president of the City Managers Association of the United States. There's a lot of cities in this country. And so here's this guy saying, you can do this. You know, I know you can do this. And wow, it was just fantastic. And I've taken that to this point where, you know, I like to say, you hire good people, but you build great people.
Yeah.
And one of the building blocks is encouragement and faith in that person's ability to achieve their own expectations. And so that's why when I meet young people, I ask them what they're interested in, what they're doing. And then I try to encourage them. I say, well, if you're going to do that, you know, you should look at this, or you should go to this site or whatever. I give them a lot of opportunities to expand on it, you know, and that's what we need. We need to encourage each other.
Yeah, what a powerful gift so early in your life to receive that. And that's one of the biggest things I do as a coach is help people actually develop that self-belief. And when you have it, the world's just like a playground. So amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So let's go to when you and Bonnie started Barefoot. You had no money, you had no experience in the wine industry, but Michael, you must have had something. You would have had your own personal nuances. What do you think was unique to you that you brought to this company that helped you do these things so differently?
Well, for one thing, I believe in a universal truth. Okay. I believe that you can take a person who's been in a successful business, you know, in Asia, and put him in a room with somebody from London and somebody from New York. And after you talk to them for a half an hour, you're going to start to hear principles that are spoken by all three of them. And they rely on, I call them guiding principles, right? And so when I got to the point where we were given this opportunity to get into this business, and I knew that it was going to be fraught with education and hardship. And like I said, the book is called How Hardship, Hustle, and Heart Built America's #1 wine brand. Well, I can tell you, hardship, I want to underline that and put it in italic, because that's what universal principles are really good at. They're good at getting calipers around the unknown. You know, you have this kind of an amoeba-like problem, and you don't have any edges. You know, you don't have any limits. You have no way to pick it up. But if you walk in there with like an adjustable wrench, right? You could turn the little gnarled screw, and the wrench will adjust to the size of the bolt. Well, that's what universal principles are. They are tools that allow us to look at challenges and say, you know what, I feel confident that I can take this on, even if you have no business saying that, which we probably didn't. But the thing is, you asked me what got me to the point where I felt confident enough to do it. It was that I felt that I had a good background in universal principles and guiding principles, and I was going to apply those to this unknown situation. You know, of course, it took 4 times longer than I thought, and it cost about 10 times more, you know, and it was brutal, and I learned a lot of lessons, made huge mistakes. But what kept me going was reliance on what I call the guiding principles for success, GPS.
Oh, what an amazing answer. And you have such a fabulous way of like wrapping it up like a present and you know, uncovering what's in your mind. What are some of those guiding principles? Share that with us, and maybe share it in light of the context of today. We're in a very different world today, and entrepreneurs, business leaders are going through some tough times.
Yeah.
Which are the guiding principles that are so crucial for today?
Well, one of the guiding principles, I guess, comes under the title of being resourceful or resourcefulness. This is a principle that says if you're washed up on a desert island, the first thing you're going to do is go through your ship and see what you have on board that you can use to survive. So that's basically taking inventory. That's what that is, okay? So the first thing you have to do, especially today with so many people pivoting and changing their careers and you know, facing financial challenges, we have to take inventory. You know, like, what am I good at? You know, what do I have? You know, what do other people think I'm good at? You know, just be real honest with yourself, and it's okay. You know, you're not bragging. You're just making a list. See, and you also know what you're not good at, so make a list of that as well. Because that's going to help you with the next guiding principle, which is you can't do it all yourself. And I guess the big title word for this guiding principle I would call strategic alliances, okay? So this is like, you ask yourself the question, who gets rich if I get rich? Who loves it if I solve this problem besides me? You know, who else has got skin in the game here? You know, look at the bigger picture and ask yourself, who else benefits? Now, in our case at Barefoot, we had a very unlikely strategic ally. It was the glass company, because wine comes in bottles. And we realized that we were going to buy more bottles from this this glass company at $5 a bottle than the $90 bottle of wines we're going to sell. I mean, like by 100,000 times more. And so we went to them and we treated them like they were strategic allies. We met with them on a regular basis, whether they wanted to or not. We told them about our plans, whether they wanted to hear them or not. And sure enough, the day came when we got into a huge supermarket, and we could not afford the cost of the glass to put all that wine in bottles and put it in that giant supermarket with 600 stores. So we went to them and they said, well, look, why don't we just extend you credit on the glass, because we see that you are willing to be loyal to us. You have a long-term contract with us. You've warned us when you couldn't make your payments in the past, and you've also told us your plans all along. So we see the success of your company being the success of our company. So that's another guiding principle. Another big guiding principle for me is make mistakes right. Or as I say, don't waste a perfectly good mistake, right? If you do make a mistake, it's right It's not R-I-G-H-T. Yes, you have to write the mistake, but it's W-R-I-T-E. It's right. You write down the mistake. You write down all the misconceptions that you had leading up to the mistake, how the mistake happened. And then you make a list of all the documents that need to be changed, created, or edited, so that mistake is less likely to happen again. Less likely. That's the best you can get in business. You won't get absolutes.
Yes.
Okay, but less likely. And so that mistake, the way to handle those mistakes is really, like at Barefoot, our business was built on the backs of mistakes. When we started our business, our contracts were 3 or 4 pages long. But when we exited our business, they were 37 pages long. And now when I look at a contract that's, an inch thick, I go, what the hell? These people must have got burned a lot. Yeah. So those are 3 really good ones that people should practice, taking inventory, getting strategic allies, and make mistakes right.
Fantastic. Amazing stuff. And they're tangible. You can see why those things are important, particularly right now.
Yeah.
There's so many different angles I want to go through from here, but let's go back to you. Maybe it's changed over time, but what do you think is your personal driving force?
I think that I really enjoy helping others to discover some of the things that I've discovered that are there, whether I'm on this planet or not. And those kinds of things, those universal truths I talked about, when I can get one of my clients to see that there's this reoccurring theme in how they're solving these problems. And then they jump and they go, okay, I see it's this principle. It's this tool. I can apply this tool to any problem. That's when I feel really good about being on the planet, because I've made a difference in humanity going forward. I've helped people advance. We're always going to have problems. We're always going to have challenges. We're always going to have bankruptcies, and, we're always going to have pandemics and, crazy people running around in government. All that stuff is going to happen. The question is, how do you respond to that? How do you respond? Can you build a business in spite of all that? Another thing that I think that I really like is, every once in a while, somebody will write me a really nice letter. They'll say, you probably don't remember me, but you spoke at this university in some city in Europe. And, since then I'm reading your stuff and I'm applying it to my business. And, I'm a big success now. I just sold my business for, 8 figures or something. I mean, that just thrills the heck out of me. I feel like, I really helped this person. And I love working with women, and I love working with diversity. My grandfather was an immigrant. He came from Ireland. They thought that his allegiance was to the Pope because he was a Catholic. So Americans thought that he was sort of subversive or something, and he would take the low-paying jobs that the Americans at the time wouldn't touch, like cleaning stables and whatnot. And he was poverty stricken. He used his last $18 to get over here on a boat from Ireland. And then when he gets here, he's treated like, what. So this is the kind of stock that I come from. And so I really love working with immigrants and people, because people who come to this country, they say, you know what, I can do it here. I can work hard and I can see some results on my work here. And it's that way mostly in Western Europe and a lot of other countries around the world. But when you encourage people to take advantage of their dreams, then you become part of the realization of their dream. And for me, that keeps me going. That's very exciting. It's more important than money or real estate or, flashy cars or boats or any of that silly stuff.
I would agree with you 100%. It's priceless joy that comes back to you, and the abundance is, you can't put a price to that. So
Well,
absolutely. So you speaking, there's such a theme coming through around what you're saying. You're talking about guiding principles, you're talking about universal truths. And when I looked at the Barefoot values, I have never seen such amazing values. I mean, it's got to be some of the most incredible values that I've seen on a company. I don't know if this is exactly your values. You can just tell me. What I've got on the website is: don't stop believing the world can be a better place. Loving locally makes our world go round. Expressing gratitude is what makes the barefoot hearts flutter. We think wine should be all inclusive, and at the end of the day, it's all about having fun and staying quirky. Those are yummy values. I mean, they're just incredible, and it's you can see what created this spirit in this brand. How important do you think these values were in contributing to the success of this company?
Well, that's a great question. And the way I would answer it is by saying, there's a difference between a label and a brand. Now, a label is a trademark that identifies the company that is producing the product. That's a label. Now, a brand is a movement. A movement. In other words, it stands for something. Maybe it's the best spaghetti on the planet. I don't know. Maybe they give some of that spaghetti to people that are starving in Africa. I don't know. But the point of the matter is that in order to have a brand of spaghetti, you had better have something better than the best spaghetti in the world. You had better, if you want people to identify with your product and with you, then they have to identify with your brand. And let's talk about identification here for a minute. What we're really talking about is the essence of marketing, the essence of advertising. We're talking about how it is that you get your word out on your goods and services. Well, I mean, we talk about what's just happened to us. I mean, Bonnie and I have been in our house since March, okay? And because of the COVID thing. And, we're not taking any chances. But the thing is, a lot of people have been in their houses and a lot of things have changed. People are rethinking things, like they're going, you know what, family really is important, because whether they wanted to or not, they had to spend more time with their family. At first, maybe it was a pain in the butt, but then after a while they went, well, this was probably the best time of my life. I got a chance to really get to know, my wife or my husband or my kids or whatever. And so that's one of the things that's really amazing about how change affects people. And so here we are coming out of this. We've got, some vaccines and whatnot. Probably in a year or two, things will get back to some kind of a normal, but there's things that aren't going to change. Like, for instance, now that you've sent everybody home and they're working on their computers from home, they're going to continue to. They're not only going to continue to, but they will not come back to work if they feel that they can have a better work-life balance with their family now by working for you from home. And so now the question is, how do you keep them loyal? How do you keep them interested? How do you keep them involved in your business? Why don't they just take a pop-up that comes up on their screen from somebody else who offers a few dollars more for them to do the same thing? The answer is simple. It has to do with your brand. It has to do with the fact that they identify with it or not. Now, if they identify with it, they're not just making noodles, okay? They're doing something much more important. And every human being on this planet wants to be a part of the change. They want to make a difference. And so that's why companies now going forward, not 10 years ago, hell, they wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole 10 years ago, but now they've got to come out of the closet and they got to say, yes, we're in favor of diversity. Yes, we're in favor of a clean environment. Yes, we're in favor of equal hiring. We're promoting women. We're making sure that people get paid an honest wage. Those are the kinds of things, like I say, 10 years ago, they would call that political. But now it's not political. Now it's just good business, because these people have really had a chance. They've been stopped because of coronavirus, and they looked and they listened and they said, wait a second, I'm spending my money for a product or a service. Are they taking that money and are they going to the government house and are they lobbying for something that's not good for me and my kids? And, you're dealing with a 24 through 44-year-old mentality. Well, guess what? Their future's a lot longer than mine, and they're going to be on the planet a lot longer than I am. So naturally, they're concerned about things that their company is doing, their government is doing, that are affecting that future. And so this is why I think that we need to have brands and not labels.
Mm. Wow. Amen.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And we need, and it's everything that you and Bonnie have developed through Barefoot, and it's become more relevant now than ever before. So you were right ahead of schedule. And so we spoke about your values, and you've spoken about the identity. There's more to it than that. It's a why. I'm sure you had a very, very strong why driving you that ignited such bold action from you and Bonnie. What was that driving force from a company perspective?
Well, for us, we were outsiders, and we weren't from the wine industry. And so part of our why was we wanted to prove to ourselves that we could be a success in an industry that was really foreign to us. As a matter of fact, it was really snobby, and we didn't like it. I mean, we were beer drinkers at the time, maybe have a martini here or there, but we weren't drinking wine, because you had to speak French just to read the damn label, and everybody was talking about mid notes, and finishes with and opens with, and here we thought, this is ridiculous. Let's first of all let's think about this a minute. Who are those guys? And so we found out that they were guys. It was men. And they were buyers in the industry who were buying the wine for the markets, and they were male consumers. Now, the male consumers were all about vintage, and I'm getting hints of mustard and all this stuff, and trying to be basically showing off or being somewhat stuffy and standoffish. And so we were motivated to do just the opposite. We said, well, wait a minute. Most of the wine is being bought by women, not by men in the first place, because they're buying the inexpensive wines as everyday wine, as Tuesday night wine, right? So what we found out was that the majority of the buyers were women, and that they were buying wine like a staple. Now, a staple is not $29 a bottle. It's $5.99, okay? That's number one. And number two, a staple tastes the same from year to year to year. It's different, like vintage wine. And so we said, okay, these are going to be blends. These are going to be non-vintage blends. Well, right there, nobody had addressed the female market, and nobody had ever put non-vintage blends on the market. That had never been done. And that female market, the 37-year-old woman with 2.5 kids, right, pushing the cart down the aisle at the supermarket, that she was the driving force. And so we just catered to her. We ignored the snobs. The snobs attacked us at first. They said, well, you guys are cheapening wine. Where there's mystery, there's margin, and you're taking the mystery out. So you're hurting our margins. And we said, no, we're going to fill your tasting room with people who used to drink beer, and you'll be thanking us in 10 years. And yes, they did. It was interesting. The same people, they wouldn't let us in the wine association and everything else. They really had a problem with what we were doing. But we didn't have a problem with it. We were having fun, and we were bringing fun and relaxation to basically American moms. That's what it was. And then it turned out that it wasn't that different, in Europe, and it wasn't that different, in England or in Asia. And so when you go into any supermarket, and you look around, you're going to see 78% of the people in there are females. The guy says, "What's for dinner, honey?" What he really says is, "Here, take the money and go down and make all the brand decisions, fill a bag up, fill 3 bags up in a half an hour, come back, put them all away and cook dinner, and then tell me what's for dinner." Well, did you notice he gave up his decision making? Gave it up. He said, "You make the decisions." See? And so that's what we discovered. And it's not just true of the wine industry, it's true of many industries. But once we discovered that, we knew we had a real advantage over the rest of the industry. We were not competing for the people who loved wine. No, we were competing for the people who drank beer.
Love it.
We were expanding the wine aficionado, as they call it, envelope, as they call it.
That is so smart. I love it. Totally love it. And you turned it on its head. That's just fantastic. And I mean, I love that little catchphrase you've got, enjoying wine, a tea instead of a tux. It's just really awesome. Just taking all the BS out of it and making it fun and bringing a little bit of quirkiness into it. So.
Well, what's interesting is, when you take a look at the history of wine, it goes back way before the Romans, but the Romans did a pretty good job. If you're a Christian, well, then, Jesus creates wine out of water. So wine has this like central thing, in wine, there is truth, right? In vino veritas. And so what I like about wine is that it can be presented, delivered, and enjoyed in a recreational fashion that is fun, healthy, and romantic. And so that's what all of our advertising, if you want to call it, was. We would show couples having a good time together, walking barefoot on the beach. We would show couples in front of a fireplace. We would show couples, after ski with their feet up. But the thing is, it was, like I said, a female buyer. She wanted to buy romance. She wanted to see herself in that picture. And that's what took her away from the drudgery of her job or her family or all of this. She went, "Oh, look, I would really like to live in that, world." So we created these worlds that were kind of like the ideal situation that a woman would like. And, it's a whole different approach than, the male approach, which is, "Oh, you should buy this wine. It's got all these medals, it's only this price. It does this, it does that, it's features and benefits." No, we didn't do that.
Got it totally right. And you just created a fun world. And I bet how many of those people that were the snobby guys turned and started enjoying your barefoot wine?
Virtually they all did. They within 10 years, they were saying, barefoot is a great bridge. It gets people from drinking beer exclusively to drinking wine at all. And now that they're drinking wine at all, they can discover our more expensive wines because barefoot brought them in. And so now we can upsell them. And so they started to see us as an entry point in the wine industry. And it was true, because when we started Barefoot in the United States of America in 1986, for instance, there was 8 times more beer drinkers than wine drinkers. See, so, the snobbiness obviously didn't work. It alienated the vast majority of the market. See, and they liked that. They liked this little club they had, they could use little words and stuff. But anyway, so we blew the walls off of that club, and, they thanked us for it because their club got much bigger. And there's a lot of people who start on Barefoot. They're drinking $90 bottles of wine today.
Enjoying it. And in a market like we have this year, hey, bring in those Barefoot bottles of wine. It's fantastic.
Well, it's an interesting industry. You know, when times are tough, people tend to imbibe more. When times are good, people tend to imbibe more. So, you know, it's kind of a bulletproof thing. There are big challenges, you know, with distribution, and also, you know, with the COVID virus and whatnot, you can't do tastings in the stores anymore. So you're asking people to buy blindly. So things have really changed. There's a lot of, you know, direct to consumer, but people are not going to pay $5 to have a $5 bottle of wine delivered to their door. I mean, they'll pay $5 for a $40 bottle of wine, but not a $5. And so there gets to be this point where the price of the object makes it more easy to buy at a store. So in the future, I think we're going to see, I mean, the stores aren't going to go away. What's going to happen is the stores will have the products that are too heavy and too inexpensive to be delivered to your house. Say like water, like bottled water. You know, you can have it delivered to your house, but it's very expensive. It costs as much as the water to deliver it to your door. So those are the kinds of things that I think have changed. Those are the challenges that I see in the industry. But yes, it's a great product. It's virtually bulletproof. Yeah. Hard to get into, very competitive, and I might say super controlled substance with compliances that can, you know, give you $100,000 fine over here or take your license away over there. And they say, and they're right, it's a privilege. It's not a right. So you have a privilege. It's like you're driving privilege. You have to have the driver's license. So, you know, and they investigate you. They want to know where all your money came from. You know, they want to audit your books on a regular basis. You know, and the thing is, there's so many laws. If your competition wants to cause trouble for you, they can complain that you broke one of those laws. See, and then they can bring in the authorities. So you have to there's a lot of reasons to have a compliance officer on board if you're going to be in that industry. Don't get the idea that it's an easy industry. It's tough. It's tough. Remember, I thought it was going to take 5 years. It took 20.
Wow. So let's go there, Michael. Let's talk about the hardship part of it. We've spoken about a lot of the fun stuff, and that was mainly because you brought your spirit into it. I'd love to go into your mind when you're confronted with a tough challenge. Let's start there. Give us a glimpse of your problem-solving approach. How does that work?
Well, you know, the first thing I like to do is try to define the problem in as many different ways as possible. The second thing I like to do is I like to take all of my problems that I'm trying to solve and throw them out on the table. In other words, not just the problem you're looking at, but all these other problems you have. And the reason is because I believe that there is a universal truth that there is what I call the elegant solution. Mm-hmm. Now, here's what elegance is. Elegance is the fewest number of brush strokes, the fewest number of colors, the fewest number of shapes, the fewest number of gears to solve the problem. Now, when that happens, a good one usually solves more than one problem. It doesn't just solve the problem at hand. In fact, the problem at hand might just be, you know, a symptom of a much greater problem that is got other symptoms, which are your other problems. Mm-hmm. You see? So this is why you want to get all your problems out on the table, because you can look at all those problems and you can say, what do they all have in common? You know, is there some underlying problem that I'm not looking at, and that this is just an example of that underlying problem? So the problem with, you know, trying to solve problems, you know, individually, it's like whack-a-mole, right? You hit the mole, the other one pops up, right? So, you know, you better be fast and have a big hammer, because you'll be doing that for the rest of your life. So that's the first thing I do is I get all the problems out. I try to see what's in common. The second thing I do is when I'm looking at the problem, I believe in the difference between what I call know the need and need to know. Okay. Now let's talk about what we all know, which is we're all familiar with need to know. Oh, Mary doesn't need to know. You know, Mary is a receptionist. She doesn't need to know that we're having a marketing problem over here with this particular customer. She doesn't need to know it. It's not her job, right? So that's really not the right way to solve problems. What you want to do is know the need. In other words, maybe Mary wants to know the need because after all, yes, she's your receptionist, but she has a financial interest in your success. She's feeding her kids off the check you give her. So she wants to naturally see this work. She also has more experience at your company than any other. She identifies with your company and she wants to move ahead in your company. So why not give her brain a chance to wrestle with your problem? So then the third thing that I do is a brainstorming session. So you bring in the people who now know the need, and most of those are people who work in your company. And you say, look, we've got this problem. We've got good news. We've got bad news. The good news is we just got accepted to a 200-store chain in Florida. Yay. Okay, what's the bad news? Well, the bad news is that they put us on the bottom shelf and nobody's going to see it. And so then one person says, well, I guess we just have to go after the foot traffic then. And everybody laughs because it's kind of a cornball pun, right? And another person says, you know, that's not such a stupid idea. Maybe we could have these clear decals that have purple footprints on them, and we could adhere them to the floor, stepping people from the door up into the wine department and in front of our product. And they'll have fun doing it. And then they'll look down because they're already looking down to see where the next step is, and they'll be barefoot and they'll laugh. And we did that in about 65% of the stores in the country. And that idea did come from the receptionist, and she was a 72-year-old receptionist. And she obviously needed to know. She needed to know. She came up with a solution that our marketing people didn't come up with. You see, our consultants didn't come up with that. It was completely from left field. But it was important because a couple of things happened. For one thing, we write a little email and send it to everybody on the staff and said, hey, Mary came up with this brilliant idea. We're going to solve this problem using Mary's idea all over the country. And now everybody knows two things. They know who Mary is. They know what she does. They know that she's made a contribution. And they also know that if they behave like that, that they'll get that kind of attention from top management as well. So this is the backbone of team building, which is appreciation, public appreciation, right? And people work for four reasons. First, they work for the money, there's no question. But the second reason is they're working for appreciation. They want to be appreciated by their cohorts. They want to be appreciated by their bosses, right? And then, of course, they work for, time off and security. But when you take a look at appreciation, that's number two. I can't tell you how many people have come to work for us and I say, why are you leaving that company? They don't appreciate me. See? So this gets back to the whole idea of identification and, do they identify with you? So part of your brand has to do with how you include people. If you want people to be engaged, you have to engage them. See? And you engage them with respect and you say, I know you guys can solve this. And by the way, you have permission to say stupid stuff. Okay. And we can laugh about this and make jokes. It's fun. Okay. We're going to have a brainstorm and say anything that comes to your mind. And so that's how I approach problems.
Amazing. I love it. And it's so inclusive again, which is really, really cool. Take us now into one of maybe the one that pops to mind, which was maybe the toughest hardship story that pops to mind, and give us an idea of what it was and how you solved it, or the overall solution.
So I guess money is always the number one hardship, right? And when we started our business, we could not afford an office. So we had a laundry room, and it didn't have a washer and a dryer in there because we couldn't afford that. But then because we didn't have a washer and a dryer, we had the space, right? So we had this room that was about 12 feet long and about 7 feet wide. And it had this hookup for the washer and dryer, but they weren't there. So then we went out to the barn and we got an old door and we dusted that off and we put it on 2 sawhorses. And that was my first desk for what becomes the largest wine brand on the planet. And here we are, in a laundry room, right? In a cowboy house, right? Like kind of a Winchester house, an enclosed porch. Out in the countryside. And so that's hardship, and then things happen, like you go into the marketplace and you get more hardship. Okay. People see that you're starting to make a success out of yourself. So they go out of their way to do dirty tricks to you, right? They take down your ads. They turn your price tag upside down. They grab your bottles and put them someplace else in the store so they won't sell because they see that you're starting to get traction. So that was a level of hardship that I didn't expect. Another level of hardship was the idea that somebody else is going to sell it for you. That's not true at all. You have to do it all yourself. And so it was hard because, here I am, I'm in a suit and tie. I'm the president and founder and CEO of this company, but I'm down on my hands and my knees on the linoleum in Tallahassee, Florida at Publix number 375 with a pricing gun in my hand, pulling my own bottles out of a box and pricing them and putting them on the shelf. Now, why didn't the clerk in that store do it? Why didn't the distributor do it? The point of the matter is that the big buyer in Lakeland, Florida, is just looking at a screen. All he wants to know is how many scanned. He's just looking at the data. So he doesn't know or care about all this background issue, which is the laziness of his own people or the fact that the distributor is distracted and selling something else that they're getting spiffed to sell this week. And so they didn't take care of Barefoot. I got a telephone call. You talk about hardship. I get a telephone call from this guy in Minneapolis, and he says, the number one MGM store, this is a big chain out there, is going to discontinue Barefoot Wine. And I said, well, why? Well, it's not moving. You can't expect to be moving in every store. And this is their flagship store, and you're just not moving. And I said, well, wait a minute. What do you mean it's not moving? Well, there hasn't been any scans there in 4 weeks. I said, just a moment. I bought a ticket. I got on a plane. The next day, I was in Minneapolis. I was in the store. What did I see? I saw the potato chips stacked to the moon in front of the Barefoot Wine. Of course it wasn't selling. The potato chips were blocking it. Now, what if I didn't go there? Mm-hmm. And what about the people who knew better, who were there? They didn't tell me the truth. You see? So this is hardship. This is hardship. Hardship is when you realize that the job is a whole lot bigger than you thought, and that the type of work is not what you signed up for. You didn't sign up for throwing boxes around and pricing bottles, right? You're supposed to be in the, sniff, swirl, and spit business, right? The wine business, keep your pinky out there. No, it isn't like that at all. It's just as rough and tumble as if you were selling hammers. So that was hardship for us, and we didn't have the right license at one point, so we were closed down. Some states were upset because we didn't disclose certain things that were really important to them. Like I got parking tickets, when I was 18 years old, that kind of thing. But we got over all of that stuff and through all that stuff. And I would say that the biggest hardship that we faced is what I call the grind, okay? This is when you have a good idea, you know it's a good idea, it's starting to take traction, but now you're plateauing. You're not making more sales the way you used to. You were shooting up and now you plateaued, and you're kind of like hit some kind of a ceiling or, a flat surface, and you just can't break through. And that goes on for a year or 2 or 3 or 4. And then finally you get, you break through. But that is really hard on your confidence, because here, you're growing and you're excited and, oh my gosh, we're going to smoke cigars. But no, all of a sudden the brakes are on and you're grinding and grinding and grinding. They say, if you put your hand on the Queen Mary, you can push on it. It's not going to move. And you come back in 2 years, the Queen Mary starts to move. See, but what if you took your hand off of it? You would lose all of that momentum, that you have to overcome to get the Queen Mary out of the harbor. And so that's why I have so much respect for startups, because they're pushing on the Queen Mary, and they might be pushing on it for 2 years. One of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make is they think that because they have a great idea, like a gold medal winner for $5 with a cute foot on it, that's going to sell it. No, it's not going to sell it at all. You're going to sell it. You get out the pricing gun. You open those boxes. You build those displays. You go talk to everybody. You bring them a baseball cap, right? You kiss up to them. You take them out to lunch. That's what you really have to do. And recognizing that was hard, because I went through, all that denial, right? Oh, this can't be true. Don't they have a financial interest in it? What's the matter with those guys? What's the matter with those guys is they have too much to do. They can focus on your product. And, everybody wants to milk the cow. Nobody wants to raise the calf. And here you are trying to raise the calf. And so, yeah, it's hardship.
Wow. Sure. And everything that you've spoken about, you only know once you've been in the trenches. There is just nothing could prepare you for it until you're in there and understand and make the mistakes. And now you're able to help other companies do in 3 years what took you 20 years to do. I mean, and that's the beauty of it.
That's what I got out of the deal is I learned what I was doing wrong. and I'm able to help other people, save them a couple $100,000 and maybe 5 years worth of going down the rabbit hole. Right.
Yes.
And that's really invaluable. That's experience. And, it doesn't come without some phaser fire and harpoon marks, right? You're going to take some hits.
Yes.
So it's better for me to take the hits than for you to take the hits.
And now the joy that you're receiving in being able to pass that knowledge on, that could only have come through the University of Hard Knocks, which you should. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. What's fun about that, Carmen, is that, and that's why we did this book, The Barefoot Spirit, in a theatrical fashion, because we wanted to convey those principles to people, but we didn't want to say, here's the 3 things you got to do, the 5 things to never do, and the 20 things your customer wants from you. Because all business books are written like that and have been for the last 25 years, and they're bloody boring. Okay? So we said, let's think about this for a minute. What would be a cool way to convey business principles? And one day we were listening to some BBC radio drama, and we thought, that's it, audio drama. Let's recreate real situations that happened in our history so that people can sit there and listen to it and experience it like a fly on the wall. And they're not told, oh, this is what it means, or look for that, or here's the outcome, here's the upshot. No, it's just, here's the story. Now, you can put it together. People put it together. They say, I see, if this action happens, this is the outcome that can be expected. If this action happens, this is the outcome that can be expected. And so because it's given to them in a story, they remember the story. And that helps them apply it to their own business and their own life. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to give all of your listeners a free 25-minute episode from our new 7-hour series called The Barefoot Spirit. And it's performed by Hollywood actors. It's got sound effects, there's lightning bolts, there's rain, there's doors slamming, there's things happening, and there's music. So it will be enjoyable for your folks, and we want to give them this gift. And as they listen to it, I think that they will start to glean some and grok some of these universal principles that we've been talking about today.
Thank you so much. And on behalf of everyone that's going to receive it, thank you, Michael, and Bonnie as well. That's really kind. And you've gone from laundry to
boardroom.
Wine, yes, to boardrooms, and now you're going to theater. I mean, talk about evolving constantly. This is just business at its best. It's exciting. It's got quirkiness, fun, and serious learning all rolled into one. And this is amazing. So tell us what excites you about this latest business venture that you're involved with now, because it's this business audio theater, right?
Right. Well, what excites me about it is, when we sold our business and we wrote our paperback book, it became a New York Times bestseller. And then when that happened, we started speaking all over the world, from Singapore to Moscow, mostly in the United States. We spoke for like 60 schools that teach entrepreneurship. And that was fun. But in the process, we realized that you really needed to tell story to get through to especially the younger generation. They were going to sit there and take notes if you gave them lists of do's and don'ts, but that was it. The notes died, with the class. But if you told them a story, the story would last forever. And they started saying, hey, that time that this happened, in your life, well, that happened to me, and I applied the same principles, and guess what? I solved it. And, and they get really excited. And I'd call them back and they'd say, how did you solve it, right? And so we'd start talking about business from a more objective standpoint, like kind of standing above the business and looking at the business and saying, oh, look, you used this tool. Oh, look, this was a completely unforeseen, unknown challenge, and you solved it by bringing in your strategic ally over here, and you asked your people for advice over here, and you did this and you did that. And so by pulling those out of the story, those tools, that's what excites me, because you're only on this planet for 90 years if you're lucky. And of that, you only get like 40 years of active life. Really? What did you do, right? What did you leave? Is it money? Is it a nice house? All that stuff goes away. The only thing they can't take away from you is what's between your ears. They can't take that away, And what we need to do, I think, is to share our knowledge. So I'm very excited because our approach to sharing knowledge through story, through audio story, 1945 style radio theater, BBC style, that style won us one of the top 5 audiobooks for 2020 by the Audiobook Publishers Association in New York. And that's amazing because, here you got Phantom Books and, Penguin Books and Harper. And then here's Bonnie and Michael, right? Who are these guys, right? From Forestville, California. And so they gave us an award that was based on the fact that what we were doing hadn't been applied to a business format before. And that this was really using theater for education. And it really was experiential learning, and it's untethered, right? It's not on the screen. It's not on a paper. You can ride your bike, you can be jogging, you can be making pasta, changing your baby's diapers, and you've got your earbuds in, and you are in a wild rocket ride story, right? And you wonder if these people are going to go to jail or get shut down, or if the guy's going to buy from them again, or if they got to let everybody go, or how are they going to handle this problem? It's that cliffhanger. So we're excited about it, and we're now offering the service to founders who are, say, been in business for 10 years, have like 100 employees or more. They're the founder, CEO, and they realize they're not going to live forever. And they're starting to wonder about their legacy. And they're starting to wonder about how they're going to keep their company culture and their spirit alive long after they're gone. And they're thinking about, how do we get people excited who are working online? How do we get those people excited about our business? So what we're doing is we're telling those business stories in a theatrical audio way. They can download it from the company's website and get a much better picture of the company and hopefully identify. It's a great way to be transparent. It's a great way to communicate your basic principles with your people, with your vendors, and with your customers. So you're not doing this because you want to sell it and make money. No, you're doing this because you want to give it away. See, you want to get the word out. So it's kind of like a form of advertising, but it's 21st century high-tech advertising.
I love it. Absolutely love it. It's going to be a wild success. It is already, with you having already won an award. So best wishes on that. I'm going to be listening closely to these stories that are going to be coming out this way. And you're a living legend. You've got a living legacy, Michael. It's just, you're just this bubbles. You're like champagne and bubbles, which is fantastic. You bring so much spirit to business. So, as a final question, Michael, if you were to if you had the opportunity to address the whole world and you could give the world a message, what is it that you would love to share?
It's pretty simple. It's put yourself in the other guy's shoes or gals. In other words, what does she really want? What are her real concerns? Once you discover that, then you have to say, now, what about the person that's between me and her, who is like a middleman or, is a platform? What do they really want? See? And so you have to get yourself to the point where you are asking more than telling, where you're trying very hard to discover what the other person wants. What I used to do is I would go into a store and I'd say, what's your fastest selling product? Who's your favorite rep? What do you like about that person? What do you like about that product? What is your biggest challenge here? And I would get answers that were really surprising, like a guy would say, well, my biggest challenge is I'm competing with online sales. I've got to give people a reason to come in the store. So, I got to decorate it for every holiday, and I can't afford that. So I'm kind of depending upon my suppliers to provide the decorations. I said, well, that's a whole lot different than, how does it taste? How much does it cost? Now the guy's saying he'll put my product in his store if I help him decorate his store. Well, I would have never thought walking in there in a million years that decoration was the key to getting into that account. See, but I asked and I got an answer. So the bottom line is, if I could give a message to everybody, it would be ask more, listen more, say less, find out what your customer really wants, not what you think they want, but what they really want. Give them what they really want. And by the way, they'll buy your product, see, because you're giving them what they really want. It's like you get the sizzle, not the steak, right?
Thank you, Michael. That's such a poignant message. So on the button, it's like take the me hat off and just put the you hat on. and so much abundance will flow back to you, which is exactly what has happened and what you've created. And thank you so much, Michael, for being you and being such an incredibly spirited individual that brings so much fun and valuable insights. This has been amazing. You've had me like tucked here and just all ears listening to you. Thank you so much.
Well, it's a pleasure and an honor to be on your show, Carmen. And I know you have an international following. I want people to check us out at www.thebarefootspirit. That's bear, B-A-R-E, not the bear, okay, barefoot, right? Thebarefootspirit.com. thebarefootspirit.com. And you'll find everything that we talked about there. There's plenty of articles and whatnot. If you want to get in touch with us, my phone number's there. You can call me. We're very transparent. We're very easy to get a hold of. And we love working with business people. We love working with founders because we know what they've gone through, and we look forward to it. And we wish all of your audience good luck in these very challenging times. I hope some of the things that I've said today will help you, get a wrench around this crazy nut that we've got in front of us and turn it, okay? Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. And thank you for your offer for that chapter. And I know everyone that's going to watch and listen is just going to get so much value out of this. And just as some concluding thoughts, BWB, the vision here is to make collaboration the new competition, which is exactly what you guys have been doing and continue to do. And the mission is to turn barriers into success breakthroughs by bringing humanity back to business. Now, what you've shared tonight, for me, you're this morning, Michael, is you guys are the testament. You're testament to what happens when you bring humanity back to business. And thank you for showing the way and paving the way for that, because that's exactly what our world needs. So I want to thank you, Michael, Bonnie. You dropped all pretenses and you got barefoot. And thank you for doing that. You guys decided to have fun, to learn from your mistakes. Just like your delicious wines bursting with that fruity goodness, you too are delicious human beings. And with good intentions, you spread love. You were inclusive. You are still inclusive. You show positivity. And what I love, what you just spoke about now, is you ask people what they want, what they need, rather than assuming that you've added fizz and sparkle through your rebel with a cause approach to business, and your conviction have really won hearts. You've taken unconventional action, you've collaborated, your free-spirited methods has really given back to business, and you're constantly giving back to business. And this has rewarded you with over 2,000 medals, countless accolades, prestigious awards, and most importantly, you've got this global base of raving fans enjoying bubbles. So what's better than all of this? It's a tea, like you say, what's better in a tea than a tux? So thank you. Thank you for sharing everything that you have with such spirit and bringing so much spirit to business. And for all of us, let's get barefoot. Let's totally get barefoot. Let's bring this kind of spirit to life in business. And we absolutely will celebrate a new human story and a future we can be proud of. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Love you all and love you, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you.